Greetings!
Bonjour!
And we are Crazy Crew. I am Catsy Critic.
I am Y2 Staller.
And I'm one Satmorn.
And we are here to review an opera.
Of sorts.
Of sorts.
Yes. In case you couldn't tell, we all saw Les Mis, or Les Miserables, or
Les Miserables. Les Miserables.
Les Miserables.
Oh, by the way, it's pronounced Les Miserables.
Just for your concern.
Thank you, Bensai.
Do you hear the people sing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be
Spoilers!
That's the bum review version. but overall, this is the musical adaptation, because there have been countless versions of Les Mis over the years. There have been countless movie versions of it, but this is the first time we actually get to see the musical version, the one that's been
in theaters and like on stage.
It's the one that started in London, then went to Broadway. Now it's shown all over the world, but performed all over the world. Yeah. But this is the first time we actually get to see the movie done
like the play.
But to me, this was my most anticipated movie of the year. Screw the Avengers, screw Men in Black 3, screw all those other movies that we've talked about. This was my most anticipated movie, but it kind of fell short with me, unfortunately. I had really high hopes with this one, but it did kind of fell short on it, and I'll definitely go into it.
Yeah, this wasn't at the top of my most anticipated. Granted, I was really excited to see it, though. And, yeah, I did have high expectations. I mean, come on, it's Les Mis. It's one of the best plays of all time. You expect the movie version, which, isn't restricted by the stage, to go all out with it. And I really thought that they kind of confined themselves too much.
It's very scattered. It's very scattered about. The beginning part of it with the song to briefly go over the story, if you don't know by now, and it's a pretty complex story. Generally, I'll try to keep this as simple. There's a man named Jean Valjean who just got out of prison after serving a 19-year sentence for stealing a loaf of bread. It was tough in those times, and he ends up going on parole. And there's this parole officer named Javert who's constantly going out, making sure that he stays on his parole. And at one point, he goes to the house of this one priest, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a priest.
He goes to or bishop, I think it is. And he goes to the bishop's house, and he stays there for the night, and he get food and water, food and wine, and eventually, and what he does is during the night he steals all the guy's silver and makes off with it, and he gets caught, he gets brought back, and he says, oh, this guy has been, he stole all your silver, but the bishop's like, no, oh, I gave him the silver, and here are these candlesticks I forgot to give to you, and the guards dismiss him, and the bishop's like, you must take this silver and use it to become an honest man, and from then forth, he works on becoming an honest man. He becomes the mayor of a town. He
becomes wealthy.
He becomes wealthy, and so on and so forth. And it's him, trying to be an honest man, and Javert, trying to find Jean Valjean because he broke his parole. And there's there's other stuff going on. There's the little girl. There's Cosette, and him having to take care of her, and there's a bunch of other things going on, and
it ultimately leads up to a revolution.
Because it was during the time where, and the movie, and this is one thing I liked about the movie, was it at least got the setting right. At least because it starts with a caption, and a date, good date, nothing like a good date.
Yeah.
And it explains that this was after the French Revolution. That after 26 years of French Revolution, there's another king back on the throne, which did happen, and this brief revolution that happened. And I looked this up. It was like a one-day revolution that happened. And this was like one of the mini revolutions that took place after the French Revolution. There was like mini revolutions trying to overthrow another king again. So that's what this is. This is where the story takes place is during this 1 day mini revolution, which the story takes place. So, but apart from all that, let me just I'd say the one thing that kind of bugged me with this was the pacing of the whole story, because there's a lot to get through, and it's a 2.5 hour movie, but like the first half of the story goes by so quickly. Like the first act just sails right through, or the first half of the first act just sails through really quickly, and that kind of bugged me.
Well, think about it. I mean, this is about a 3-hour play that they probably wanted to keep. They don't want to be making Lord of the Rings here. They want something that's going to keep people's attention. So they had to trim it down a bit, and it kind of works.
I mean, they did include most of the songs. I think 2 of the songs only got cut that were in there. But a lot of the songs just only had they actually had to chop down like a verse or 2 from like almost each song. Like every other song had like a verse or... I noticed it because I have the soundtrack and I listen to it constantly. That they cut like a verse or 2 out of almost like every other song that was there. Yeah. Like Master of the House, they cut out a verse for time.
And in fact, for anybody who knows the original play, it's all singing. Yes. It's pretty much an opera. And for the most part, like you said earlier, the other movie adaptations have either been like straight narrative, no singing at all, or you get the singing, but it's a concert, so they're not really performing the full
the 25th anniversary concert they did about, was it like a year ago? Last year. Which is funny, because actually some of the people that are in the movie were in the 25th anniversary concert.
Yeah, wasn't the bishop, wasn't he the original Jean Valjean, from what I heard?
That I don't know.
I think I heard that was actually the case, but...
I know the Eponine was in the Eponine that was in the movie was the one from the 25th anniversary concert, and I think some of the guys, like the schoolboys, I think were from the 25th anniversary concert as well, which also explains why when they sung their songs they actually did it so flawlessly, because they did it before, and it sounds good. It really does.
But going back to what I was saying, like, this is pretty much the closest thing you're gonna get to the play, because although, there are some minor moments where there's actual dialogue, or not even really dialogue, just someone says a line, but it's not done to music. This is pretty much an all-singing movie.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention like the bits of dialogue, in the song, and that's what kind of bugged me a little bit at first, especially in the beginning, because there was parts, like especially in the first song when Hugh Jackman is singing, thinking about what he should do with the silver, should he change his ways. Like there's parts of that song where he's doing straight singing, that's fine, but then he like drops out of it and just does like straight dialogue, like it goes like in and out, and that kind of bugged, and he also does that in a bunch of the other songs too, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. It's like, are you doing it straight song, or are you doing it dialogue? I mean, there were moments where it worked. Where like they just had straight dialogue instead of singing it, but most of the time it's just kind of felt out of place. It's just like he goes. Which one? Well, one example they did right was where he goes, this is a factory, not a circus. I have of repute. I am the mayor of this town. And then he goes, and he goes, and then he goes, please, please be patient as you can and resort this. And he goes straight dialogue. That worked. Or where they say, sack the girl today. Right then, on your way. That worked. That worked fine. But when you're doing it in a song where then all of a sudden you just drop into dialogue, like, or if he finds me, I'll be back. Another face upon the rack, and like that's usually sung, but that kind of just it feels out of place. It just feels out of place. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural.
Right.
I kept expecting someone in the audience, like, any minute to just suddenly get up and like, walk out and be like, I didn't know they were doing all singing. Because usually that happened once. I went to see Sweeney Todd in theaters, and this whole row of guys sitting in front of us got up during the second song, and they're like, this fucking sucks. No one said this was a musical.
You know what's funny, and I'm gonna go, and I just want to briefly go off topic for a second. You know, there was the Phantom of the Opera. They did the Andrew Weber Phantom of the Opera movie that came out a few years ago. I liked that movie. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a pretty faithful adaptation to the musical, but a lot of people didn't like it. In fact, some people like said, "Oh, there's too much singing." I'm like, have you ever seen the original Phantom of the Opera? Like, it is an opera. It's like Les Mis. It's mostly, majority of it is singing. There's very little. There is some spoken dialogue in the original Phantom of the Opera, but for the most part, it's sung. It's sung, just straight. But I know, but with Les Mis, I don't know, there's some moments where the dialogue just seems, in the song, like I said, it's just kind of like they just drop out of it, and some of it does feel kind of forced.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I don't know, like, you can obviously tell that they're singing the whole time, though, and I can imagine it being off-putting for some people, be like, can't we hear a straight piece of dialogue, without the flowery, like, lyrics to it?
Watch the other older movies of it then.
No, like, I know, like, because I know, for instance, like, my dad is really not into musicals at all, particularly operas. They're really deadly for him, so I just kept watching this, and, like, and it was fun for me, because I've watched operas before, and actually, if you want to watch a worse opera, watch Madame Butterfly. You can't even make out the words they're saying in that play. But with Les Mis, I thought they conveyed all their dialogue rather beautifully, and the metaphors and, like, how they sort of, like, worded everything, like, worked really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So just to prove, what a masterpiece Les Mis is.
But now, I mean, apart from, because, like, the first act, kind of, it kind of rushed through, but then all of a sudden it slows down for the second half of the movie when we finally get to older Cosette, when we get to the revolution, the schoolboys, before the barricades arise, we get to that part, and that's when the movie starts to slow down a bit. And to me, I think that's when, to me, maybe it's just me, but that's when it got a little bit more interesting, because I mean, yeah, you got the guys talking, but the pacing seemed to have evened out at that point. Because that's where all the good stuff happens. They're revolting against the people. And they're getting ready to start another revolution, which is like at this point like the third or fourth revolution they've done. Sure. But I don't know. To me, that's when it started getting interesting, and the pacing worked a lot better because you're able to take in the songs a little bit better. You're able to take in what it is they're trying to do, and I don't know. It started to feel like Les Mis again to me. But you kind of disagree with me on this.
Well, like I said, I feel, yes, it does slow down, but it goes a little too slow. I feel like once it gets to the second act, it really starts to drag. And I mean, yes, this is pretty much where a majority of the story is, and yeah, you want to slow down and get every little intricacy, but I don't know, like, I felt like they just, it went way too slow. Like, even in the play, I feel like, even though it's a lot slower than the beginning of the show, even in the play, it goes faster than that. Like, I don't know, I really felt the drag at that point. I don't know. It could be that they're just focusing maybe too much on the war itself, which
That was always something that, like, I always noticed, even with the play, is that Les Mis, when you really look at it, it seems like they're trying to fit two stories together and somehow make them intertwine. Because it starts off, it's about Jean Valjean and his effort to redeem himself from his past. That's the first half, and then all of a sudden you cut years later to the revolution, and then pretty much from then on until like the end of the barricade scene, it's all about the students and the revolution.
It's all about It's about Marius and Cosette and their their love story and
the lack thereof.
yeah, the lack thereof. I'll admit.
Yeah.
But I can't blame the movie. We can't blame the movie for that because that happened in the play. So I can't really say much to that.
Yeah.
On a note about Cosette and the older Cosette, like, I work at the Paper Mill Playhouse. I am surrounded by theater nerds, and I heard a lot of them saying that probably the weakest links in the movie were Russell Crowe and whoever was playing Cosette. I do and I don't agree with them about Russell Crowe, but when it comes to Cosette, I can hardly remember a thing about her. I cannot really remember her performance. I cannot really remember her singing. So yeah, I can't help but agree that she was very weak in this.
I thought her singing was fine. I mean, it got what it needed done. I just think maybe there wasn't enough for her to do, per se. Because I mean, there's so many different. You got so many characters to focus on. You got Jean Valjean. You have Javert. You have Cosette. You have Thirdenaire. You have Thirdenaire and his wife, which I'll get to when we start breaking down the characters. You got Marius. You have a Jorlia. I can't remember the guy. I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even going to dare try. The guy leading the revolution. You have all these characters, each with their own motivation, with deep motivations and their own little mini arcs in there, here and there, and each one gets pretty much their own song. And there's so much going on, and some things were dropped, some things about their characters were dropped, and some weren't with some characters. I think older Cosette was one of them, and they didn't really do much with her, except that she needed to sound good singing, and she did sound good singing.
Well, even in the play, there's not much to her, but she does sing a lot.
Yeah.
She's kind of just there to be part of Valjean's redemption, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because that's like.
And Marius' love interest.
I have just met you, and I love you.
She's pretty much there both as motivation for Valjean and for Marius. That's pretty much it. That's her whole purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like she has any real ambitions of her own or anything.
Oh, all she serves is that she's, I guess, sort of in slavery due to her mother, to Thirdenaire and his wife, and that Jean Valjean saves her from that, and then pretty much she does nothing up until the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say though, I always thought it was weird that Valjean never ever told her about his past. Like, you'd think he'd tell her something, so at least she'd understand why they have to keep running, why they can never associate with the police or anything like that. Because I know if my parents was taking me, moving me around every few months or so to a different location, not tell me why, I'd be pretty pissed off. Or at least, would have a whole ton of questions that I would probably demand answers to. And she brings it up at one point, but he just, scoffs her off and she doesn't pursue it anymore. So, I just always thought that was weird. I mean, you think Valjean would want her to know the danger that she's facing. It's like, if he gets caught, he gets taken away, and then she's left alone again.
That actually brings up a point that I noticed. Something missing from the movie that was in the play, and it probably would have made more sense if they had left this in the movie. But there is one point at which Thirdenaire, he shows up to Jean Valjean's house.
Yes,
and
where you're going with this.
he pretty much is like, you know, he knows of Jean Valjean. He knows who he is, and he pretty much makes himself known to be a threat. And that essentially is what leads into One Day More. It's like, oh my God, this guy knows who I am, and if I don't, you know, if I'm not careful, he could spill the beans and get me into a lot of trouble. But they kind of skip on that in the movie, so it's just like, oh, I think they equate it to just a noise. Someone raises an alarm, and he shows up, and you just see Jean Valjean and Cosette running.
Yeah, I think they go to this part where Eponine threatens to reveal her father if he doesn't leave. And then she screams, and then Valjean hears her, and he's like, oh my God, it's Javert, we gotta get going.
I know, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap.
I'm thinking like, wow, that's jumping to conclusions, isn't it?
But that, you know, it's funny you mentioned Third and Air, because there's another bit with Third and Air that I thought was confusing, and you and I we talked about this before, and that
the wedding.
Yeah, the wedding,
yeah.
Where he's there, and he's like, you know, I saved, I helped you save your life, you and Jean Valjean. So I want a little something. Just for me helping out. And I know where Jean Valjean is, and if you don't, I will tell everyone where Jean Valjean is. And he's like, where is he? He's like, oh, he's at the convent. I mean, it's not so much that, but the fact that he gets thrown out of the party, even though in the play he stays in.
Yeah. Basically, going with this whole depressing motif that the show has is that, oh hey, the bad people aren't always going to get punished. In fact, a lot of times they'll get rewarded. No, they don't have this in the movie. The bad guys get their comeuppance, sort of.
Yes.
Well, at least they're not, being heralded as like these rich aristocrats or anything.
No, but on the other hand, they, they're sort of seen for what slimeballs they are, and people are actually taking action to say, hey, we don't like what you're doing. No, but that's not the case in the play.
It's a movie. The good guys have to win, the bad guys have to lose, even though in Les Mis it's kind of the opposite. But I want to get into the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I want to break down it individually. Starting with Hugh Jackman as Jean Valjean. I thought he was okay as Jean Valjean.
I thought he was okay too, though I had my issues with him, particularly when he sings Bring Him Home. I feel that song is supposed to be, sort of a gentle prayer, and,
Yeah, it's
sort of a soft thing.
Yeah, and when I saw it a second time, and I needed to see it a second time just to clarify myself, I did agree with you on the fact that he went a little bit too strong on that.
Belts it. He freaking belts that song, and that is not a song I feel needs to be belted. Mm-hmm. I feel that should be subtle, that should be toned down, that should be quiet.
I mean, Hugh Jackman does have a good set of pipes. He really does.
Yeah, I will give him that.
He's shown it off on numerous occasions, even before Les Mis.
He definitely had a good voice. I will give him credit for that. But I just felt in certain cases he put more effort into songs that he shouldn't have. But, like I said, he did a good job otherwise.
I liked him for the most part, too.
Yeah.
Although we should address the fact that he looks a little too young to play the part.
Yeah, and in fact, it's weird. When in the final scene where where he's about to die, you pretty much you see him age throughout the course of the play, throughout the course of the movie,
or lack thereof. And that's one thing that still kind of somewhat bugged me is like they didn't make him age as much.
No.
Even when he first becomes mayor, I can understand clean shaven, that I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to beyond that, when we get to see him as with adult Cosette,
he looks younger.
he looks the same. He looks the same as he was before then. Like, they didn't even do anything.
No gray hair, no nothing.
But, I mean, there's some slight gray, but they didn't really do anything with it, like facial-wise.
Yeah, because, I mean, the play was to take place, I mean, if you started at the beginning, like when he first goes to jail, to the end when, you know, he actually dies, this is like a 36-year span, and...
Well, like, I wouldn't say that much. I would say more like...
19 years, 8 years, 9 years.
16, 17 years.
No, 19 years in prison, 8 years becoming the mayor, 9 years on the run.
Well,
That's 36 years.
In his life.
That's what I mean.
All right.
36 years this takes place, the course this takes place over, meaning that, like...
He's old.
Yeah.
He should be old, like, assuming that
yeah.
the youngest he probably was when he was, like...
Somewhere in his 20s, maybe 30s.
Yeah, or maybe even a teenager, who knows. But the point is, like, he has to be at least 50. And as we all know, this takes place back in the 1800s, where the lifespan of humans was a lot shorter.
Yeah.
So he should look a hell of a lot older than he did at the end. Like, they pretty much just threw powder on his hair, and that was it.
It was like the last...
They made him look sickly, but they didn't make him look older.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, Russell Crowe looked a lot older than he did. Even though, even though he didn't really age throughout the film.
I mean, yeah, he had gray hair, but I think that might have been a bit much. But Russell Crowe's Javert, I didn't have the only problem I had with him was him vocally. Like, I felt that he needed to be an octave higher for a lot of the songs. Like, there were some parts where the songs, you know, it's just the natural, you know, the what is this, you know, that kind of thing. That was fine, but for the most part, like,
he did a decent job vocally.
But when he got to some of his solo stuff, like, you know, when he was singing Stars or his Suicide, there were parts of it, you know, where he had to go up high. And as I was watching it a second time, I'm just like, you could tell that he didn't want to. You could tell he didn't want to go high. It's the old singer trick where if you can't reach that high, what do you do for a high note? What do? You take your you go an octave. You sing an octave lower. Yeah. You go an octave lower, and I mean, yes, but it kind of shows here with Russell Crowe, and it's like you knew it couldn't hit that high note, and it's like you didn't want to try to hit that high note. It's just it was playing it safe, but it also kind of loses a lot of the emotion of the song as well with both of them. I mean, Stars was okay. I mean, and I wanted to point out real quick with both with Javert's songs, main song Stars and Javert's Suicide, is that the cinematography in Stars, like he's walking around and you see Notre Dame Cathedral in the background, and he's walking along the edge, and you see his feet walking along the edge of the building, as if, you know, he's like walking a fine line between right and wrong, sanity, insanity, you know, that kind of thing, just and unjust. And I like that, and it worked pretty well, especially, you know, with his character. I mean, they do it again in Javert's Suicide, him walking along, and I like that. I like
walking the thin line.
Walking the thin line, and eventually
that was very clever.
Yes, I like that quite a bit. There was actually another cinematography bit where
before you go into that,
yeah.
I want to mention something.
Sure.
I heard this from another person at Paper Mill. I believe, like, when he's singing Stars, he's in front of Notre Dame, and when he's singing, you know, before his Suicide, I think he's actually behind Notre Dame. That's what I heard. Which
I think you're right, because
yeah.
I think I did remember seeing it in the background faintly, and the second time around. You're right. You're right. That all right. I like
even
that.
More clever still, you know.
Also, one other thing in Bring Him Home, there's a shot, and I didn't notice this the first time around because I was too busy focusing on Hugh Jackman singing. There's a shot where you have Hugh Jackman, and then there's like this picture of an eye that's in the foreground, in the background. Almost kind of like, and he's singing, you know, to God, you know, please watch Marius, and it's almost, and it's great visual symbolism, just like the eye, you know, looking at like the eye of God is looking down on, you know, he's looking down on Jean Valjean, where you know, as he's doing this prayer, you know, listening to him, kind of per se. Also kind of reminded me of The Great Gatsby, but that's another movie, and that's months down the way. But yeah, just those little bits. But getting back to Javert, Russell Crowe did a decent job. I wish it would have been an octave. Wish it would have been a little bit higher in his range in this registry, because he's like a bass baritone at most, and Javert needs to be at least a tenor, at least a second tenor, at the highest.
But he definitely pulls off the role, singing aside, and even his singing, like I said, is pretty decent. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take me out of it, no matter how how low he went, despite what people said about him being the weakest link in the movie. I don't think that was the case. No. I think, despite the fact that maybe he couldn't hit those notes, his acting still does the job. He's still intimidating. And there's this one scene where it's before the suicide, where Jean Valjean is dragging Marius through the sewer, and as he gets out, the camera cuts right up to Javert, and it's such a great moment, just seeing Javert like sitting there and standing there with that attitude, and you're looking up at him. It makes it all that the more powerful, and just the look on his face too. I don't know. I felt that made it. That was perfect.
There is one other good Javert moment, and I just realized this. It's when Javert and Valjean are in the hospital. Fantine just passed away, and in the song where he says, a man like you can never change, a man just as you. And then they go back and forth with the words, and they're doing it as they're like...
And didn't they have swords with that?
Yes,
I thought that was brilliant.
I know.
That was brilliant.
That was brilliant. I mean, yes, it's taking it a bit literally, but it
works.
It works here.
It works.
I like that. I like that, because it's, they're both singing and sword fighting. It's brilliant. Not just visually, but just, metaphorically. It works.
I pretty much agree with what you said, that, he's not as bad as people say that he is, because he has that commanding presence, and that, you really need that to play Javert. And true, his singing pipes weren't the best, but he did what he could, probably thanks to auto-tune and all that. But,
he didn't sound auto-tune.
But, I don't know, for me, because I'm used to, seeing him in Gladiator and other, roles he's played like that, where, he is a commanding character, but then he gets humbled, and he sort of has to crawl his way up from, the dregs. I kept thinking, he should have been Jean Valjean, because he looks more like the character, he's used to playing those kind of roles and everything, so it kind of threw me off when I saw that he was actually being Javert.
I don't think he would have the range for Valjean, either.
No, definitely not. But for what he did, I thought he did a pretty good job. Like I said, just maybe a few more singing lessons.
One other thing I wanted to note. I don't know if anybody really has the same complaint, but before his death, before he confronts Jean Valjean for the last time, he, during the Revolution, you see, a bunch of dead bodies, and Javert is walking past them, and then he sees Gavroche, and he takes this pin on his lapel, and he gives it to Gavroche. I felt that to be very out of character, considering that he is still in, full asshole mode. He hasn't really begun to question his place yet.
Maybe he's not sure. Maybe it's just... I think I see it more as the starting point.
I felt like he's really not supposed to question. He's not supposed to have that internal monologue until he's about to commit suicide. I feel like, this change is so powerful in him that he doesn't want to even face it. So he has to kill himself, and for him to do something like that, I don't want to say noble, but you know what I mean. something that good of a gesture, it doesn't quite fit yet.
Yeah, I do think it's really out of place. Because, I mean, Javert is a man of, like, powerful conviction. And his one big conviction was that criminals can never change. They're bad through and through. There's no redemption for them. And, of course, you know, he would see all the revolutionary people as criminals. Because, you know, they're traitors to the country. And for him to just, like, do that little gesture at first, but then all of a sudden go back and then try to kill Valjean when he's trying to save Marius, just, it seems like he was taking a step back, but then he went straight back to where he was, and then he let that thing happen again, and then he's like, oh no, I was wrong this whole time, I can't live with myself, death. So, like I said, I agree with you, it really doesn't seem to fit. Because, like, he is supposed to hold that strong conviction up until the very end, when he has no choice to acknowledge that Valjean has changed and that his whole beliefs, everything that has driven his character up until that point has been wrong. Because, I mean, it's not just the fact that, you know, his whole outlook on life is wrong, it's also the fact that, you know, how many people has he sent away to jail, sent away to, you know, the slavery mines or whatever, just sent away to their deaths that, you know, could have been innocent, could have had a chance at redemption, but never did because he just refused to acknowledge that they could. Like, that's a lot for a person, and once you break that, you know, how can you blame Javert for killing himself?
Yeah. One last thing about Javert, and I know we've been going on.
And then we'll move on.
And then we'll move on, and that's his end, his death. I picked this up especially second time around. I didn't notice it first time, but after he sings his song, you know, he's upset, you know, he's like, how could I? He can't live like that. He can't live with himself like this, knowing that, you know, everything that he's learned in life is wrong and doesn't want to change, and so he kills himself. And to point out. And I want to point out the scene. Like, he's on the bridge, and below is the water, but the water is like, it's like almost like a series of like stone rings in the river.
I guess aqueduct pipes.
I guess.
Well, wouldn't an aqueduct be higher up?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know why it's there, but it's there. And what happens is he falls off. You know, he falls off, you know, can't go on, and he falls off. And then he lands on one of the rings, and it sounds like a big, sounds like a lame sound effect punch, like something that I've used in my previous videos. And it's like a, and it's like freaking Looney Tunes. It's like sound effect. It's like, and it's funny, because the second time when I went to see it, there was a woman who sat in front of me. And she was like this, trying to prevent herself from laughing, and I was kind of, and I thought it was actually kind of funny too.
All you need is for it to cut to black, and then hear dun 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 dun.
But I mean, it's funny. I mean, yeah, I thought it was funny, but there's a problem with that, is that it kills the entire mood. It kills all effect of that previous song, and that bugs me now. It's like, why isn't it there? Like, as soon as it comes on DVD, somebody's going to rip that scene and post it up on YouTube. It's going to get like 1 million hits on that thing. I swear to God. There's going to be like a compilation of like the new funniest deaths of the last decade, and that's going to be on there. It's just...
Just added a goofy sound effect, like,
That'll be next. 5 months from now, it's going to happen. But, alright, enough with Javert. Other characters. I want to get to the reason why I actually wanted to see it the second time, and that was Anne Hathaway as Fantine. I thought, overall, when I saw it the second time and I wanted to be sure, for the most part, she's fine. For the most part, she did good with the role. She was fine. She was fine with the role, you know, acting-wise, vocally, obviously vocally, wonderful job. But there were some things. There was 2 points with Fantine that kind of bugged me, and still kind of bugs me a little bit. One was with I Dream a Dream, which was it was out of place in the movie, but it worked to its advantage. Like, usually it comes Usually it's I Dream of Dream and then Lovely Ladies, but here it's reversed, but it works. But I think it works better this way. But with I Dream of Dream, I mean, vocally it's fine. I watched it again. Vocally it's fine, but I thought from a cinematography point of view, it kind of lost a little bit of that luster because because she's sitting there lying in the bed, she sings, there was a time when men were kind and the world was a song and so on and so forth. And then she gets up and then she sings, the rest of the song, I dreamed a dream my life could be, and so on, so on. And the camera just stays on her the entire time, the entire song, and I was annoyed by that. And I thought at first I thought it was Anne Hathaway, but no. When I saw it a second time, no. Because, I don't know, it just lost a lot of effect, just keeping it on her. Yeah, I know she's upset. Yeah, she's bawling, but the fact
I think it's more than she's upset.
I know.
She's mentally and physically weak.
Yes, and I understand that, and don't get me wrong. I understand that completely with the character, but I just felt it lost its effect just having the camera just stuck up on her for the entire song. I mean, I thought a little bit at the end it was kind of slightly a bit over the top, but I just felt that's the one thing that bugged me was that I just thought it lost its effect just having it stay on there the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all, because, and even my brother commented on it as well, because it's one of those long, continuous scenes, and true, Anne Hathaway puts on her acting chops big time. You could see the emotion and the pain in her face when she's, singing this, she actually feels it. But just, they had it, so close up on her, and, I could see, the snot in her nose building up. That is how close they were, and it's just, that might be okay on a stage where, when you have the actor remove themselves from the rest of, the setting, just, do sort of a soliloquy, just a little solo number, just so you can focus just on them. But for a movie, it really does not work, because you're, waiting for them to, cut away, and other times you're, looking away, because you don't want to see this person bawling up close and, seeing all sorts of fluids running down their face. It gets really uncomfortable. I just think that could have been shot a lot better. Just have her walking somewhere, have the camera panning around to where she was standing, something like that.
Have the camera, dissolve in and out, like that. I saw a movie version of Pirates of Penzance. When Pirates of Penzance was back on Broadway in the late 70s, a few years later they did a movie version of it with Kevin Kline and Angela Lansbury and a bunch of other people that were in the play production, and there's one part where they do this one song. It's with Frederick and Maybelle, and there's and you see the camera's moving, and there's and the shots are dissolving one within the other. And I thought they could have used that here with I Dream of Dream, and I think it would have been more effective if they did that. But no, they just stuck the camera right on there and. I don't know. It just lost quite a bit of its effects. I mean, it's a great song. It's a powerful song, but doing something like that it takes a lot of the emotion out of it.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I kind of agree, but even when I watched it, even thinking about it, it really never bothered me. I was too focused on her performance to really notice the cinematography in that. Maybe that's the good thing. So, but yeah, I honestly was not at all bothered by that, and I feel even to have the close-up on her, you see just what she's become. You see just how broken a woman she is. I mean, her hair is cut off, and you get every detail of her. I don't know. It didn't bother me in the least.
Well, I'm a detail-oriented, being, so I notice all these little things and stuff, and I always notice if I'm staring at something too long, I start seeing all these other things, and then, of course, they start bothering me. So, like I said, just seeing her just get into, this sort of grotesque state, I guess that was off-putting to me.
Well, I think that's real.
Yeah, it's
That's
real.
real.
Yeah, and like I said, she did a wonderful job performing it. I just wish that they didn't have it like right up here.
Well, as I have said a number of times, perhaps I am spoiled by the play, but I mean, really, you get used to seeing people in a stationary position, and I mean, yeah, you've got it right up in her face, but I don't know, you like I said, it didn't bother me. In fact, if anything, I feel it maybe added to it. Granted, yeah, maybe they could have moved the camera, but I really didn't mind that they didn't move it. It didn't take away from the experience for me.
There is one other scene I want to talk about with Fantine. That's
The very end.
That's her death, and
Right.
her death, and then Valjean comes in and says that he's going to take care of her, and it's fine up until her death, and I thought her death was a bit over the top for me. A little, just a little bit a little bit melodramatic in my taste, in my opinion. Like, I mean, I know she's dying and whatnot, but I don't know. It seemed a bit tad over. And I knew she wanted to milk it for what it's milk it more for what it's worth, because it's the only real big scene that she has, because she knew going into this thing that she wasn't going to be in for that long, and she was like, she kind of milked that out
Just to make it count. Yeah.
Just to make it count. But it comes off as a bit over. But it just comes off as a bit over the top, just like.
Was that whole thing with her seeing Cosette in the play, or did they just add that?
That was in the play.
Okay.
That was in the play.
Well, they don't. Thing is, from what I've heard, they don't actually put like Cosette in there.
No.
Like, she's singing that she sees her, but I don't think I've ever seen a play where they actually, you know, have her actually show up.
No.
Which actually kind of works for what they did, and that they have her show up for like a brief second and then disappear.
Oh, I'm not taking away anything from that. No. I think it works.
I thought that was brilliant.
No, I thought that worked.
A lot of people I've heard from thought that was brilliant.
I thought it actually worked a little, because it kind of syncs up with the end when Valjean dies. Because Fantine died, she wanted to see her daughter, but she was deprived of being able to see her because she was so sick. And so when Valjean is ready to die, Fantine actually stops him from dying just long enough so he can see Cosette for one last time. So, in a way, she granted him what she couldn't have. So I thought that tied in pretty well together.
Yes.
It was just weird because I've seen Les Mis on stage like twice before, and I guess maybe I wasn't listening to the lyrics too well. I didn't know that she was actually seeing like a phantom version of Cosette while she was dying. So that's just me, I just wanted to know.
No, but that works. Let's get to Sacha Baron Cohen and Helen Bonham Carter, and I mean, this is like what, the second musical that I've seen them where they're actually both in the same movie, and it's a musical nonetheless. I always like Third and Air because as much as he is a con and a thief, he's the only comedy relief in the whole entire thing. And
their whole purpose is to be comic reliefs. They are the only funny part of the show.
But I like Sacha Baron Cohen is brilliant in this. He really does. I mean, the comedy works very well, and he does have a good set of pipes. I mean, I know he does. Helena Bonham Carter, I was also impressed with too, because I've seen her in Sweeney Todd. I saw Sweeney Todd. I thought it was a bit out of her registry with a lot of the high notes in Sweeney Todd. Here, I thought she worked a lot better because it was something a little bit more in her range, and she was able to work with it, and I liked that. But the one thing that I noticed, and I noticed it a second time, was that I remember in the play version, like the relationship between Third and Air and the wife is that they're both the wife doesn't really like Third and Air that much. She's only sticking around with him because he I mean, he puts food on the table for the most part. She just kind of goes along. She just kind of goes along with it because she has to. Here,
she puts up appearances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here they change the chemistry. And you notice that, especially in Master of the House, where she has that sign, Master of the House ain't worth me spit, counsel of a philosopher and lifelong shit. And they totally changed the meaning of those words around because they made them as if they were in cahoots with each other. And in some way, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it kind of worked here because of for them being the only comedy release in the entire movie, it does work a lot better to have both of them be working together. Because especially in the later scenes when they all of a sudden run into Valjean again, it's like it's you again, and that kind of thing, and it works better. And I think it works better in this light. Maybe that's just me.
I liked it, especially with all the scenes they show of them like casually stealing stuff or switching things around or replacing things. And the fact that they were so smooth about it, and it's almost like they rehearsed it ahead of time. Like, I really like that, and it does make sense, that they would practice it because the two steal. There's no sugarcoating it. So of course, they would have to be somewhat close and have somewhat of a certain kind of what was that, physical signal, which they know when to do this stuff. So I think it does work that they've shown that they are close, despite them being basically human scum.
I will say with Master of the House, I thought it was I thought the pacing went a tad bit too fast. And they also cut out one of the verses, mostly I think partly because of time. But the quick cutting and the editing and the cinematography works with that song pretty well for the most part. And I liked it, but I wish they could have done a little bit more. And that's the one big weakness with the two of them is that they don't give them that much to do, and when they're there, it's not on for very long.
I have an opinion to offer up on the two of them that would probably be totally against what anybody might say, but I think they were underplayed. I mean, you have Sacha Baron Cohen, who's known for, being obnoxious, for being,
outlandish.
just outlandish, just being outright silly. And from what I've seen in the plays, they just milk these characters for all they're worth. All the comedy they can squeeze out of them, they do. And I really felt that they were being underutilized. That they were not... And partially it goes to that they weren't given enough to do. But I felt like, they have them really downplayed. Especially Helena Bonham Carter, who just sort of murmurs, just mutters things. Whereas in the song, in the plays, her character would be really attitude-y, would be really,
loud-spoken.
Yes.
Cockney.
Very Cockney.
Very Cockney.
Whereas, Helena Bonham Carter's really soft-spoken. She's sort of bit.
And Sacha Baron Cohen kind of outshines her at times.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they really underutilized both of them, and in particular Helena Bonham Carter. And also, I feel like they really changed Third Hand Air because he's whenever he gets confronted by someone, he's usually got the upper hand in some way or another. And I'm talking about in the show.
Yeah.
He'll be confronted. Someone will argue with him, and he'll just be like, "Shit, fuck you. I've got this, that, and the other thing. Who cares what you have to say? Oh, you can yell at me until the cows come home, and I'll just be a smartass the whole time." Mm-hmm. Whereas in the movie, he's still a smartass, but he gives up too easily. Someone confronts him, and he'll immediately like sort of, you know, shy away. It's like, yeah, oh, sorry,
Like,
you know, don't hurt me. He's over there, you know,
or go that, or
I'll tell you
that way into the
yeah,
right.
I'll tell you what you need to know. Don't hurt me. It's like, really? This is not the same character. This guy's supposed to be like a sly asshole who's slick talking. He's an asshole, a lovable asshole, and this guy, no, he's just sort of a whiny thief.
There's one song that they cut out of one of the songs with Third Nair, which does
When he's in the sewers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. They cut out that song. They cut out that song for that.
He's stealing things off of dead people.
I know.
He's like,
I know. I like that song, and that would have worked, especially in the case that you're saying about him being underplayed. That would have being underplaying his character. That would have strengthened his character a lot more. You know, the fact that he's stealing the stuff off of the dead. That he's to the point where he can steal stuff off of dead people.
and also, I think Master of the House was actually a lot slower than you think it was. Like, it was an okay pace, but I felt it did not go fast.
I don't think it's just it went too fast or just too slow. I don't think it was as big as it
No,
could
it was not as big. It's
Like,
supposed
Yeah,
to be.
I
it's
was
supposed to be like
expecting it to be bigger.
a party song almost.
Yeah, Master of the House is supposed to be like sort of the Be Our Guest at Beauty and the Beast. You know, the big showstopper almost. Like, the thing that's supposed to lift everybody out of this depressing mood that we've been in up to that point. And for me, I just did as much with it as they could have.
I mean, visually it works for the most part. There just wasn't enough of it. There was one verse that they cut out. And to messieurs, let yourself down. Or no, it was and to messieurs, wait. This weighs a ton, travels a curse. But here we strive to lighten your purse. And the rest of that. And I wish, and I would love, and I hope that's in the deleted scenes. If I ever decide to get the DVD, that the
It might be on the
bits of the
CD. So they tend to do that where they release the whole song on the CD as opposed to in the movie.
Yeah, but I hope that's in the deleted scene. Like, I love to see that visually, like what they would do. Like, they see a guy with all these suitcases and they like switch around the suitcases. Around. Like, I would love to see that because that's what they do. This, like, they just switch around stuff. I love to have they have like they itemized everything. They have eyes, glasses, like wallet, like all these sorts of things. Or he goes, or the part in the song with these where he's overcharging the people, and he goes up into the suite and he grabs this guy's stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. The characters were still there, and yeah, as you were saying, they're doing their little pickpocket things, and everybody's getting a laugh out of it. I got a laugh.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I felt they could have still done more.
I know.
I felt they really, whoever was directing them, really could have put these characters over the top, and that would have made it that much better. Mm-hmm. But it just, it was okay, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
And like I said, the ultimate insult was them getting thrown out of the wedding.
Yeah. Let's quickly move on to the characters in a sec. Let's go to, I want to group like Marius.
And Eponine?
Yeah. Let's do Marius and Eponine real quick. With Eponine, I liked Eponine.
I liked her a lot.
She was really good in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even with On My Own, that was done really, really well. I mean, cinematography I thought was doing well because they moved the camera around. I loved it how in one part where she says, and then then the streets are full of strangers, and all of a sudden you see a guy in the background walking. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it just worked. Like, that little thing, just see the guy just walking by, the streets are full of strangers, and you see a guy walking by.
It would have been funny if the guy came by and noticed her, she was like, oh, sorry.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if that was intentional or not. If it was, good job. I like that. But just her being in the rain, saying that she loves Marius to death, and it was just so brilliant. And her character, she was really brilliant too. And of course, because she was in the 25th anniversary Les Mis concert, so she did what she had to do, and then some.
And here's something I like that they did in the movie as opposed to the play. That in this case, they actually give Fontaine and Marius a little more of a relationship. Like, sure, it's not the same love
You
that...
mean Eponine.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Eponine.
I was like, wait, what?
Eponine and Marius. That they actually give them more of a relationship as opposed to what they give them in the play. It's just like, you know, it's sort of a little friendly relationship. It's like, but to the point where, you know, pretty much that Eponine is giving affection and getting nothing in return and pretty much being the messenger instead of, you know, doing anything. Whereas actually in the movie, Marius is not I don't think he's completely oblivious to it. He actually sort of sees something, and then when she dies, and you know, he actually feels genuinely sorry to see her die.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think he's also, you know, he senses the conflict a little bit.
I think the tragedy of that is that if she had actually spoken up earlier and made her feelings known, he probably would have been with her as opposed to Cosette. So that, I think that's what makes it even more tragic, because you know that he probably would have returned her affections had he known. And of course, he's a guy, and guys are oblivious.
Yep. Wait, what?
You're outnumbered here. No.
Oblivious.
What are you trying to say?
You're lucky I'm between you two.
What are you trying to say?
But with Marius was good.
I like Marius.
Vocally, he was good. I think he was the Marius from the 25th anniversary concert. I think.
I thought that was Nick Jonas, but don't quote me on that.
No, well, I could be wrong, but either way, he was good. I liked it. I liked it. Yeah, he had the right range. He delivered the character very well. I don't know. He kind of looks. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but he kind of looks like a young. Almost looks like a young. What is it? I don't want to say Hugh Laurie. That's not it. Like a younger version of some famous British actor. I can't even think right now. But like I seen like a face somewhere before from something. But he did a really good job, especially like empty chairs at empty tables.
Oh, God, that was beautiful.
That was
how vocally and cinematically, that is to a T what that song should have been.
Yes. Like, I mean, you start off. I love it. It starts off a cappella at first, and then the score gradually comes in, you know, and it builds up and builds up and builds up, and you know, and he's sobbing. You see the tears coming down, and you know, eventually the camera pulls out. You know, it sees him, you know, with everybody. You know, and you know, you say, my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for," and you know, and it really captures the moment right there, you know, of that song, you know, of him just being, you know, grieving over his lost friends who have died in the battle, who did not survive the night.
I was actually surprised they didn't do what they usually do in the play, have like all the characters like stand up behind him in like a row.
Yes. I remember that in the play version, and I thought maybe they were going to do something like have like shadow shadow like ghost figures, you know, walking around. Like I thought they were going to do something like that, but they didn't. But even without that,
it still works. Powerful. You feel the emptiness.
Yes.
You know, you feel the loss that he has suffered. That, you know, despite his memories, these people are not coming back, and just how mournful he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no matter how you do, and no matter how you slice it, however way you perform it, either a cappella or with music, you still you get a different feeling each time. But each time it's mournful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
In terms of Eponine, why did she disguise herself as a boy?
Because she wanted to be close to Marius. She was willing to be close to Marius. That she was willing to, you know,
be one of the guys.
Yes.
Yeah, but would they really have stopped her if she was a girl. I mean, I figured everyone already knew who she was, so what was the point of her being a boy?
I don't. Maybe because otherwise she wouldn't be able to be in the fight, because they don't want the girls fighting or whatever. They don't want the ladies,
Yeah, but I figured everyone would at least recognize her, know who she is. I mean, and Marius obviously knew who she was once she got shot or whatever. It just seemed really weird because I'm thinking, what is she putting on a show for the soldiers or something? So they won't go easy on her. It confused me.
But but overall, I like Marius. Marius was very well done.
A lot more sympathetic than the Broadway
That's
version.
much more.
The rest of the cast was pretty good. So like the guy running the revolution. I thought he was done very well. Like all the guys. So when they do a lot of the choral stuff, when they have the chorus singing, like at the end of the day, or do you hear the people sing? Like any time that there's a need for a chorus in the movie, it delivers, and they got it right. Like they had to get it right, and they did, with those songs, and it does deliver very well. I do want to point out with "Do You Hear the People Sing?" Like it doesn't come in until much later, but it fits in the context of the movie. But I love it how they start singing. They come out, and it's like they hijack the carriage. And
they're starting to grab everything from the town.
And they're grabbing everything
for the bunker.
No, but they're grabbing everything. They're hijacking. Like, do you hear the people sing? As we're hijacking this corpse. I'm just like, all right, this is awesome. We just need a couple of more songs, and we got this revolution thing all taken care of. I just thought that was kind of funny.
That was
kind of
funny.
But they delivered the song properly. They got it right. I was worried because after they went to one day more, I was like, wait a minute.
Where did you skipped one?
I was like, wait a minute. Where do you hear the people sing? That was a while back. It's like, what the hell's going on? We're halfway through Act 2 already. What's going on? But then all of a sudden, they start singing. I'm like, aha, this is where it is. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
Well, One Day More is usually where they put the intermission.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know, really. But then, then they finally do You Hear the People Sing, and it worked. And it's like, okay, this fits here. I get it. But, I mean, the rest of the cast, the child actors.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to get to. They were phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They really, Young Cosette and Garrosh, brilliant.
I don't think I have ever, even on Broadway or in the movie, I don't think I've ever seen a bad Garrosh. Mm-hmm. I think every child who's played him has played him to a T.
Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of disappointed because he doesn't get this one song. They do the song "Little People," when he sings,
That was kind of rushed.
Actually, they just throw tidbits and they just throw bits of it in there. But I'm just like, the song would have been more. This would have made more sense if they, I don't know, introduced the song, the whole song to begin with, instead of him just
running into battle
with the song, and it kind of puts it out of place. It's like, wait, why is he singing this? It's like, okay, shows what little people can do, and I'm just hoping from this thing, it's like a worm can roll a stone, a bee could sting a bear, a fly can fly around Versailles because flies don't care. I was waiting for him to sing the rest of that song, but no, guess not. It's just, he's going to sing this, and then he gets shot. But whatever.
Little tidbit they changed is that, from what I remember from the Broadway version, is that he manages to throw a bag of gunpowder up to the...
I know, and he didn't do that in the movie version.
He did, he throws it, and then he gets shot. And
yes.
He's left out front with the rest of the dead soldiers. But in this, he doesn't even get the gunpowder, and somehow they're able to drag him back over the side without any of them being shot in the process.
I think they were all stunned. I think it's because the soldiers were all stunned by the fact that we just killed a kid.
Mm. And yet they shot at him remorselessly,
Yeah, really.
French people are so fucked up.
In fact, if I remember correctly, when they showed a close-up of that one soldier that took a shot at him, he had a smile on his face.
Mm.
That part always bothered me. Like, that actually traumatized me the first time I saw Les Mis, because I had never seen, like, a tragedy before. Because, like, I think I was only, like, 14 at that point. So, you know, I was obsessed in the land of Disney where everything had a happy ending. And then suddenly I see this play where it's so damn depressing. And then we get up to that part with the kid, I'm like, oh God, are they going to shoot him? Oh my God, they shot him! So yeah, that was a traumatizing point in my childhood.
I know, and it was also the gunshots in the play version.
Oh my God, I was like jumping every time. I'm like, oh shit. I can't handle that.
But imagine if that was in 3D and they had the sound effects.
Oh God.
Oh.
Everyone in the theater would be getting up and running out. I guarantee you right now.
But it still had, even the fight scenes still had a lot of gravitas. It still had a lot of emotion with that, and they were shot, and the action sequences were shot very well. I like those.
I do like when the leader is killed, he goes in the same pose like he did in the Broadway show, with him hanging upside down with
over the barricade.
Yeah, with the flag draped across him.
Yeah.
Because I had seen, like, another version of that where you don't see that. Like, you don't see the kid getting shot. You don't see him, the leader, falling over the side. They just revealed the two of them in a wheelbarrow along with the other dead. I'm glad they actually kept those two in the movie. Because, like, as depressing as it is to watch, it's, in a way, symbolic.
Yeah.
So, what other characters we have? Did we go through all of them?
I think we're pretty much going through anybody with a name or major character.
Yeah, major character arc, really. Let's see. Overall, it was a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It was a mixed bag. I mean, it gets bumpy in the first part, but by the second half of the movie, that's when things really start to get interesting. There are people. In both showings that I went to, people were still singing along. The second time I heard it, I faintly heard somebody singing along with the movie. I didn't care. I was kind of doing the same thing when I was watching it the first time. So it didn't bother me at all, and people were still applauding at the end. I mean the ending did a pretty good job.
The ending was perfect.
The ending was what it should be, with the people that died, lining up along the barricade,
and even the initial build into it,
yes.
where Jean Valjean's just walking up and he goes right up to the priest, and you hear the ghostly voices of the chorus.
Yes,
just oh God,
I'm like, yes.
It's perfect. And then, seeing everybody along the barricade, I absolutely loved it.
There's no other better way to end it, really.
No, it was absolutely flawless.
Yes.
I cried twice in this movie. I cried when Fantine died, and I cried when Valjean died. Like, I just couldn't help myself. Like, it might have been their performance, it might have been the music, a mixture of both. But it's one of those things that just tugs at your heartstring.
Exactly.
And I knew it was coming, I knew it was going to happen, and I still cried anyway. So you know the movie is good if it does get a reaction like that out of you.
Exactly. Les Mis was my very first musical my very first time going to Broadway.
You poor bastard.
I was 19 when I saw
you were
it.
mature enough.
All right, you were mature enough to handle it. Okay.
I was saying you were like 10 when you saw that.
I saw it when I was... I think I might have seen it when I was... might have been 14 or 15 when I saw Les Mis for the first time. And I think... I don't remember if I saw that first and then I saw Phantom of the Opera. It was one of the two. It was one of those two that I saw both of them. I did see both. But I remember I just like the music. It is my favorite musical. And I'm a sucker for musicals. That's why I say it's my most anticipated movie for me this year was this one. Yeah, it fell short, but they at least did some things right. They got much of the songs right. They got some of the performances were good, but I mean, if you're not a big fan, if you're not a big fan of musicals, you're probably not gonna like this movie.
No. If you have even a little bit of disdain for musicals, do not see this movie.
Or don't see this adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah. But, no, I mean, in my opinion, yeah, it falls short a lot, but I was expecting it to be a lot worse. I was expecting them to have, lost a lot more. I was expecting them not to really sing the whole thing and have more dialogue that was straight narrative. So I was satisfied with what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel, whether or not you feel that this does complete justice, that it's performed well, yada yada yada, looking past all that, I think this is the movie that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I really and truly do think this is as good a job as they could do. Even if it does need improvements, this was a very, very good first try.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yes.
So, like I said, I would really like to see it again. Like, I just want to mention my experience seeing this movie wasn't exactly the best, and these two both know it. I went to one of those dine-in theaters, and I heard that they're good, but unfortunately I chose to go on Christmas Day at night when, and everybody and their mother was out watching it, and of course it was opening day, and my server, he, not the brightest person, he was very slow, and honestly he kept interrupting at like the most inopportune points. Like, I didn't even see Javert's death because he had come over and asked if I still wanted this drink that I ordered like half an hour ago and never received.
When you see it again, do pay attention to that, please, and see what
That's
your reaction
the problem.
is.
I couldn't pay attention to this movie properly. Just all the lights around, all the clinking of silverware, people going up and down the aisles. That's too distracting for me, and I have ADD, so I notice everything. So.
Oh, I also wanted to bring up another point. We forgot to mention this, but yeah, in going with the Christmas thing, Santa Claus is in this movie.
Yes, in
Master of the
House, they take Santa, and at the end, you just see him on like a sled, like a box with like pulled by like ponies or something, or donkeys, and he's like, Master of the House, comfort
Santa gets drunk, and he gets some nookie.
Santa gets laid.
He's like, oh, have you been naughty or nice?
At one point, the one's like, oh, Santa.
I just kept thinking to myself, wow, I hope there's no kids in the audience.
What timing?
Yes, that's easily the funniest part in the movie. Merry Christmas, kids!
A Merry Christmas for all of us. Merry Christmas to have for all.
Mm-hmm.
That closes out the year.
Yep, that is totally it for 2012. It's been rather interesting since we first started this, and hopefully next year we can see almost all the movies.
Or most of them. Summer movies, there's going to be a tons worth. It's going to be like every single week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we're going to get to all the summer movies, though. We'll get to most of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much that I want to see. A lot of sequels it's going to be a lot of sequels, but a lot of sequels worth seeing.
I hope so.
To movies that I already know, like Kick-Ass 2, and some odd ones that I didn't even know had sequels, like 300 Rise of an Empire.
And
yeah, you're coming along for that one, Doug.
Oh, no.
Or prequels, like Monsters University. Why, Pixar? Why?
Whatever. But I will say this: the next time we all gather, we should go see Arnold.
Arnold!
Because he has a new movie, which is coming out in January, called The Last Stand, and I say we should all go see it.
Yes. We are seeing the next Arnold.
Because it's been a while since, Arnold was in The Expendables, but this is his first role, first leading role in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
And he may be old, but I guarantee he still kicks ass.
Yes. With a school bus. Which I've been seeing.
And so yes, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy whatever the hell you celebrate.
Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
And we will see you all in 2013. I'm Cat T. Critic.
I'm Y2 Staller.
And I'm One Sat Morn.
And we shall see you one day more. Another day, another destiny.
Do you hear the people sing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of a drum, there is a light about to shine when tomorrow comes.
We're nerds.
Next time, folks.
Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see?
Then join in the fight that'll give you the right to be free.